Hello, and welcome to a Vlogmas day 23. Welcome back. I am so excited to see you guys here. If you're new here, my name is Adele Ashley. I am 30 something years old. I live in Toronto, Canada, and I'm just a girl sharing everything I like on the internet. So that covers everything from books to beauty products. I have vlogs up as well. I recently shared my book love of bullet journaling as well. So that's basically what you will find on my channel. So I've seen the BookTube newbie tag floating around for some time now, and I'm always so intrigued into seeing kind of why people chose to either join YouTube in general or more specifically BookTube, because I like watching BookTube videos. I'm an avid reader. I've been reading for years, so pretty much my entire life actually. So I love to see what people are reading, discuss books with other people, and it just kind of made sense for me to join in on the trend as well, especially since I do talk about books quite frequently on this channel. So essentially my channel as a whole, I decided to start because it was something that I've been toying with for a couple of years actually. And at the beginning of 2023, I was like, you know what, maybe you should. And one of my goals was actually to purchase a camera and to just do it. Like I told myself, it doesn't matter how perfect it is before you put it out, you just need to start. You just need to, you know, pick up the camera, film some stuff, edit it, and post it. And honestly, that first video was one of the hardest things that I ever did, and kind of letting go of my ego a little bit and how imperfect it kind of was. But it's something that over the past few months I've been really enjoying constantly doing. So the process of planning out what video I'm going to do, filming it, and posting it has really brought me a lot of joy. And a big thing there was I was really looking for something creative. So my full-time job was very much not creative. I was very much in I was burnt out, to put it kind of really gently. Like I was really burnt out in my full-time job and didn't have a lot of things that I found were like creative. I would read, but that's very much a solitary activity, and I just wanted something that was a little bit different. I wanted to stretch a different muscle, kind of, you could say. So I started the channel as a method for me to be creative, and over time it has turned into that and so much more. I love it so much. I'm trying to figure out like different editing techniques and stuff like that, and I do things in my daily life, and I'm like, it's also forced me just to like do more in general instead of just staying at home. So, you know, I can't record a vlog where all I do is stay in my apartment the entire time. I do need to leave the apartment to film some of those vlogs, so it's good for me that way as well. So I guess the short answer to that is, why did I start this channel? It was to document and live my life. It was to find a new creative way of doing things, of expressing myself, and of just kind of like feeling good. So, and it has. I think I've accomplished that so far. So what are some fun and unique things that I think I can bring to BookTube? I know I can't post just only book videos. Even though I read a lot, I don't think that's something that would bring me a ton of joy, only showing book videos. But I do want to show kind of how reading fits into my life. So whether that be, you know, I have a job, I exercise quite frequently, I work in the health and fitness industry, I go out and do things with my friends on the weekends or sometimes even after work. So just how reading fits into that kind of everything else that I am doing in my life is something that I think I would love to showcase, as well as all the things that are adjacent to reading. So my love of reading has led me to considering starting a reading journal for 2024. And while I always tracked books in my regular bullet journal, reading so much and being exposed to it has made me be like, you know what, maybe I want to document it in a different way and be a little bit more intentional in my reading. And I also think, you know, I go to stationery stores and see all these different things. Like, I discovered this paper to make these really cool bookmarks the other day, and just I want to highlight and showcase the books that I'm reading, but I also really want to showcase all the other things that come with that as well, and the other kind of adjacent things that we all love while reading, like teas and coffee and a really good drink to make while you read your book. Because I sometimes, you know, I make myself a specialty cup of coffee and then with like syrups and a whole bunch of other stuff, and then I'll go and read a book. So, you know, it's all intertwined. What am I most excited about? So I'm actually most excited about hearing all the different books and things that people are reading. So, and broadening that community and kind of making some other bookish friends. So I am part of a book club currently, but a lot of my other friends do not read a lot. So I actually don't get a lot of information about what books they're reading or recommendations from them. And I do think that BookTube, Book Talk, Bookstagram, all of it I'm really looking to build a community of people who also read and who are kind of just willing to have that conversation with me about a book. Like, so what are you reading? What do you want to read? What author did you discover that you think that I might like because it's similar to something that I have read? I just want all the recommendations, and I also really want to recommend books to other people, because, you know, some of the books that I love are some books that others may not have read yet, or I really want to have a very respectful and healthy conversation about a book that maybe I loved but someone else might have disliked, and kind of see what that perspective is on it as well. Why do you love reading? I love how it kind of transports you to another world. I love how books are stories, and I'm absolutely going to butcher this quote, but there is that saying about how, like, a person who reads lives 1,000 lives, and I think reading is a really simple way to stretch that muscle and, like, build empathy towards different situations. Sometimes when we read books, we are in that person's perspective, and we get to see how, like, their thoughts and their feelings towards a situation that is actually something that we may never encounter ourselves in our lives. So I do think reading builds a lot of empathy for people, especially I guess both in nonfiction and fiction books, depending on what you're reading. But I just love how it broadens your horizons and forces you to imagine things, and, you know, just, it's fun. It's really, really fun. When did you start reading and first loves? So I actually started reading, I don't remember, like, learning to read. This is not a vivid memory for me at all. I often joke that it kind of feels as if I was born just reading. But for me, one of my earliest memories of books is actually with my grandfather. So it was a non-negotiable that I would always have a library card. So I remember we lived in Edmonton at the time, and I remember going down into the library with him, and he would drop me off in, like, the kids section of the library and tell me not to move. I wasn't allowed to stray from that area, and I would pick up books, and, you know, we'd go through the books that I picked out to read and that I was going to take out from the library, and he would, I remember him highlighting to me, like, I learned about series from him, because he would be like, this is actually the third book or the second book in a series, so let's go back and find book number 1 because you haven't read that yet. And it's something that has always kind of stuck with me. So I still have a library card. I always buy books, and, you know, he passed a couple of years ago, and one of his Christmas gifts for me was always a book. And I always knew, no matter what, even if I lived in a different city than him and wasn't spending Christmas, that a book would come in the mail that he picked out for me. And he had this really good way of knowing exactly what book I would like or would want to read. I think a really big one is I was over at their place once and I had purchased The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas because I'd read it on ebook earlier in the year and just loved the book and wanted a physical copy. And we were having dinner and he asked me, like, that book you have up there, did you read it already? Because that's the book I was going to buy you for Christmas. And The Hate You Give is, honestly, it was one of my favorite books that I read, and it kind of like really solidified, like, yeah, like you always pick these books that I absolutely love and that are spot on. And the funny thing is, we actually didn't talk about books a lot. Like, we didn't talk about what I was reading, we didn't talk about what I was thinking of reading or my TBR. Like, we read, and he knew I read, obviously, but and he always read. Like, you know, later on I knew that if I couldn't find him in a library, I needed to find where they had like all those Western books with probably what he was picking up. But I really attribute my love of reading to my grandfather and his insistence that I always read. And I think something that was really nice was I always knew that if I came with a book and asked for a book, I was pretty much guaranteed that I was going to get that book. I might not get a toy, but a book was always kind of guaranteed to me. It was never really a no, and I acknowledge how lucky I am for that. In terms of first loves, there's so many books that I loved as a kid. I really remember, I think it's called The Borrowers, but it was this story about these people, like these tiny, tiny people who lived in the walls of like a house, and then they'd have the family. So it was like they were a family living in the walls of the house, and they were very small. And I think there was something about like mice or rats being bigger than them, like that's how small they were. And then there was like a full family of people who lived in the house as well, like regular sized humans. And I don't really remember if there was any like interaction between the two families, or maybe there was interaction between the small family and the child in the family. I don't know, but I was obsessed with that book. It stands out to me because I remember having one of those like little Dixie cups and talking about how I needed to like put water in it for this family and for the family that lived in the walls of the house and stuff like that as well. So clearly it made an impression on me, even though I can't fully remember the name of the book. I think it's The Borrowers. If anyone knows it, please let me know, because I actually kind of think I want to reread that book now and kind of look at it from an adult perspective. I also really, really liked the Harry Potter series. I was a Harry Potter kid. I have very fond memories of getting the books as they were coming out and waiting for release dates and the excitement around that. I remember, like, it's gonna date me, but I remember like I think the 5th book came out, and at the time Amazon would do like a special delivery for the book. So Amazon at the time did not deliver on the weekends, and my mom would pre-order the book for me, and it would be released on a Saturday, which also, like, J.K. Rowling had power in the publishing industry at the time. But this book would always be released on a Friday, and I remember, it would always be released on a Saturday morning. And we'd go to the midnight release party, and we wouldn't stand in line to get the book, because my book was coming the next day. So I'd get to do all the like little Harry Potter activations and stuff that the bookstores would hold. And then I would get up super early on Saturday morning and basically stare at our front door until the delivery person came to drop off the book for me. And I remember one of them kind of laughing when I opened the door, because he was walking up the driveway, and I was like flinging the door open and to grab the book, and he was like, yeah, I have your Harry Potter book, here it is. And you know, now older, I think of how for them that must have been such a nice thing to see, because Harry Potter books were like a special delivery. Like, it was its own special thing that happened. It was, people were like volunteering to take these shifts, but like I said, that's nostalgia of Harry Potter days for me, reading books 1 through 7 as they came out. What else did I like? I also really liked the books I had to read in school, like 1984, The Crucibles, The Chrysalid, I think is called. I'll make sure that I have a full list and put it down below, but there is a book kind of about people being othered and not being accepted in their community that I really, really enjoyed in school. To Kill a Mockingbird, like, I was pretty easy. I would read just about anything. But yeah, those would be the books that I'd say kind of like I really loved at first. Okay, and where do I read? So I kind of read anywhere. To be honest, I've had a couple friends kind of ask me like, oh, how do you read so many books? And it's like, because I will read at any moment and any time. I have the Kindle app on my phone. I have it loaded onto tablets. I have a Kindle as well. Like, so there's 3 places as well. The Kindle's always with me. Chances are if I'm leaving the house, I definitely have my phone on me so I can read on that. And if I'm carrying a bigger bag, I have my Kindle with me and I can read on my Kindle. I also am a user of the Everand app. It previously was called Scribd. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks there as well as ebook copies. I have an Audible membership. So I have various ways of getting access to books, and because, you know, I live downtown Toronto, I walk a lot of places. It's really easy for me just to like pop headphones in and run errands while listening to an audiobook, or to, if I'm sitting in the back of an Uber or on the bus, I might read while I'm doing those things. And then just in general as well, like I sometimes just go up to one of my building's amenity spaces and read on a Saturday morning with some coffee and call it a day. What books do you like to read? So I will read just about anything. With the caveat that just currently I am actually reading a lot of romance books. And I know that is just because I have a lot going on in my personal life right now, and I just need happiness and joy and levity in my life. Like, I don't want to hear about anyone struggling. I cannot do anything that is too dark or anything like that, which means that one of my favorite genres of books, thrillers, is actually something that I can't read right now, because I love a really like messed up psychological thriller that gets into your head, especially if it's like the one character is kind of like playing against the other, and there's this element of like, is this person a reliable narrator? Like, I love those type of books, and I just can't really dive into it right now because it's like almost too heavy for me. So romance book is my genre currently. I also really like fiction books. For example, I read Yellowface earlier in the year and I liked it. And then Iron Flame and Fourth Wing kind of reminded me that I like fantasy books. So I know Fourth Wing is a romantasy, but I used to really dive into like thick doorstopper fantasy books and absolutely love them, and all the world building and everything else that goes with it. For example, my in-person book club is actually reading Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard for our January book of the month, and I read it when it first came out and I remember really liking it, and I actually read the entire series. I don't remember much of it currently, but when it was picked as the book of the month, I was actually so excited to dive into it and see what was happening, because I love a fantasy book, and you know, I just need to get back to there. So one of my goals for the year, actually, for 2024, I should say, is actually to read more fantasy books and read across more genres in general, but specifically fantasy. I might throw in some sci-fi as well and break out of my constant like romance book rut. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but looking to re-diversify my reading a little bit going into 2024. So what am I currently reading? I'm currently reading This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. I absolutely loved the first book in the series entitled Before I Let Go. So I'm excited to dive back into that world and see what is going on with these characters. I believe this book focuses on Soledad as opposed to the couple in the original story, so I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm actually starting it today. And then I'm also really looking forward to reading Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane over the next, I guess, week. I'll read it before the end of the year, so that one is based around the holiday season as well, so I'm excited to dive into that, as well as a couple of Kindle Unlimited books. So I was going to read Behind the Net and The Fake Out by Stephanie Archer. Both of those are hockey romances, and I mentioned in my November reading wrap-up how I have come to the realization that I love a sports romance book. So especially hockey for some reason, even though I'm not a hockey fan. So I will be reading that. I probably will also dive into Come and Get It by Kylie Reed because it's her sophomore novel, so I'm really interested in seeing that book. Such a Fun Age I really enjoyed. And then after that, I think maybe just like some really simple Christmas books or holiday books. A Winter in New York by Josie Silver is on the list. Yeah, a lot. I think we're just gonna kind of go with the flow and just read one of the many books in my TBR pile after I finish This Could Be Us. So that is it. That is a little bit about me. Let me know down in the comments if there's any questions you want answered. Also, let me know if you've done an introductory post or participated in the newbie tag, and I will be sure to watch it and make sure to say hi in your comments as well. Like I said, I really like the BookTube community and talking about books with other people, and I'm looking for more people with similar interests to me. So, till next time, have a great day.